Good afternoon, and thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, your compassion today as you listen to these numerous stories of hope and transformation. I hope that in our sharing with you that you'll have a better understanding and perhaps a different perspective of the amazing healing power of plant medicine, and specifically Ibogaine. At a time when no other treatment modalities and drugs, at a time when other treatments, modalities, and drugs have failed. My name is Michael Higgs. I'm a retired Navy SEAL of 30 years, finishing my active duty time as Command Master Chief for West Coast SEAL Team. I've had 15 rotations, multiple combat tours during my service, with the last one in 2015. I'm a graduate of the University of Southern California with a Master's in Business, and Southern Illinois with a Bachelor's in Education and Curriculum Development. Post-military retirement, I served both private sectors and government sectors as a program manager, consultant, and in learning and development. I'm currently the director of programs for the Honor Foundation in San Diego, California, which is a 501(c) transition program for the men and women of the special operations community. If you asked me 4 years ago if I'd be up here or anywhere speaking on substance abuse, drug addiction, physical and sexual abuse, multiple losses of life, complex post-traumatic stress, loss, survivor's guilt, moral injury, and attempted suicide, I'd say, where do we start? If you'd ask me about psychedelic-assisted therapy, mindfulness, meditation, deep personal reconciliation, post-traumatic growth, and healing, I wouldn't know where to start. But all the above is part of my story and that of hundreds more of my brothers and sisters who have served their country. I enlisted in the Navy in 1986 at the age of 19. I left college in East Tennessee, a close neighbor of yours, where I was playing football and running track. I decided to join the SEAL teams, motivated at the time by all the terrorist attacks and hijackings that were prevalent in the mid to late 80s. I was young, full of energy, and I thought I could do my part in making the world a better place. Alongside like-minded men, I had no clue what the next 30 years would bring, show, or put me through. While the 80s were certainly fun, and 90s, work took its toll on my body and my family life, not counting deployments. Special operators expected to travel and do arduous training for over 265 days a year. Our training was strenuous and tested our resolve, our minds, bodies, and for many of us, our families and our marriages. September 11th ushered in a new chapter in all of our lives and that of my fellow teammates. Between 2002 and 2015, I'd witnessed combat and the loss of teammates and fellow service members. I'd kill or be part of killing more people than I'll ever have on social media and become numb to it. I witnessed multiple deaths of innocent civilians by the enemy and accidentally by my own hand. I'd suffered blast injuries, memory loss, cognitive decline, chronic pain, migraines, fits of rage, anger, suicide amongst my teammates, drug abuse by my wife from injury, and my oldest daughter from sexual trauma. Multiple failures for them in rehab leading to our divorce, bankruptcy, their homelessness, and the destruction of my family. I'd remained in this feeling of constant combat for 15 years. After I retired and the war ended, I thought it would stop, but it didn't. I then suffered the loss of more teammates from combat and then suicide, 6 specifically since this past October. And finally, the thing I'd heard about but never experienced, flashbacks from my entire life raging so out of control that I decided to take my own life. At the time all this was going on, I was working with another teammate of mine who had had a psychotic break, and he was raging out of control. And I'd reached out to colleagues that I'd seen somehow go away broken and come back fixed. And I'd asked for help, and I kept getting the same answers. The mission within, Ibogaine. The mission within, Ibogaine. And attached to that also was Marcus Capone's organization, VETS. One day I'm sitting on my couch about ready to pull the trigger on a gun and end my life and end this constant pain that I'm sitting through. And a knock came on my door from a fellow brother of mine. I'd previously helped him with paperwork for the program, and he had just gotten approved. Excuse me. He had just been discharged from mental hold at the hospital, and he had come to tell me that he was accepted into the program with the only catch that he would only go if I went with him. I told him I would, not believing that it would help, but anything was better than nothing. You see, at that time, I tried everything at that point: talk therapy, CPT, IPT, TMS, more psychotropics than I think anyone should ever be on, and nothing seemed to work. So what did I have to lose if this didn't? My gun would still be there. Soon after we completed our medical screening, we met with our therapist, and I got into a van with 4 other veterans to drive to Mexico to try a medicine I never heard of with a doctor I'd never met. I can say now with certainty that getting into that van and answering that door and making that call in the lives of the other men, it saved my life and the lives of all the other men that I was with. Since then, I've seen hundreds of men and women from all walks of life, all professions, come back from the brink of death, reunite with their families, their souls, and with our Creator. I was able to reconcile more pain in my life over the course of 3 days than in the 40 years of therapy combined. And I wasn't alone in this experience. Since that weekend, I've dedicated my life to working in the veteran space and advocating for these medicines. I've become a psychedelic integration coach, a facilitator, and up until October was the director of operations for the Mission Within, spending 3 weekends a month serving my brothers and sisters. Because of Ibogaine treatment, I was able to get off every drug I was on for anxiety, paranoia, depression, sleep, cognitive function, and pain. I now meditate. I sleep through the night. I have more compassion for myself and others, and I'm more accepting of myself and others. Above all, Ibogaine treatment has brought me and so many hundreds of others the peace that we were looking for. I mentioned earlier that my former wife and my oldest daughter suffered from drug and opioid abuse. That abuse and the shame and the guilt and pain never left them. I tried for years to get both of them to come with me to Mexico and just try experience, and neither of them felt they could titrate off their antidepressants or anti-meds long enough to get through the treatment. They were both trapped by fear, and every day for the last 15 years, I've waited on that call. For the last 15 years, I wait on the call that no one wants to receive. Sadly, 2 weeks ago, August 28th, less than 48 hours after I've drafted these notes, I received that call. My oldest daughter, who was in pain, knew she would go to the hospital and probably be turned away. She went to the street, and the street delivered. She was found less than 24 hours later with fake Oxycontin laced with fentanyl. She died at 33. I'm asking the commission today that if you want to help your fellow brothers and sisters struggling with addiction and suicide and traumas, don't we owe them the right to try? Thank you for your time today, and I applaud your courage.
Mr. Higgs, thank you for your service to the country, your presence here today, and on behalf of this commission, please accept our deepest sympathies on the loss of your daughter, and thank you for being here. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Higgs from any commission members?
I know that was difficult, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Higgs.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to call Mr. Stefan Lasme, who is a